welcome to this week's organization challenge. We are currently in week 17 of 25 weeks. And if this is the first video in the series that you're watching, please check out the other ones. I also have a description on my blog of each one. Each month we have a different theme and it runs until the end of August. So this month's theme is finding. So we talked about zippers and buttons and hardware. And this week being the last week in this month and with this theme, we are going to talk about ribbon, trim, and floss. But first, my name is Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. So I also want to mention we're having some construction done on the house, so you might hear some background noise. I apologize. I definitely want to keep this schedule, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, there is a work going on pretty much for the next couple weeks, so you might hear some background noise in some of my videos. Okay, so let's get started talking about trim. So I don't have a lot of ribbon and trim. I do love it and I do use it, but I just don't have a huge collection of it. Maybe someday, maybe that's a goal. So this beige ribbon I bought as a bundle at Michael's. It was one of those things on sale and it came with like 100 pieces or something like that. So I just keep it in this bundle like this. But I do have some odds and ends like a rickrack. I love rickrack. I especially love vintage rickrack. I love putting a little bit of rickrack on some of my zipper pouches, especially when I give them as gifts. It adds a nice 3D element. So much fun. And I also love piping, but I also don't have a lot of that either. I love putting that on the edges of projects because I just think it adds that extra touch. But anyway, let's get back to the organization part of this. So to organize ribbon, usually what I do is I cut a piece of foam core or cardboard in it's approximately 4 inches by 3 inches, and I cut 4 slits on each corner so I can catch the ribbon on each end so it stays nice and tight in there. And I just cut just a slit. I usually use my rotary cutter that is specifically for paper, and it usually has, well, it always has an old blade in it, so it's perfect. So I cut it down and I wrap the ribbon around it, and it just keeps it nice together so it's not in a big giant knot or bundle. Now floss. Floss is a totally different story. I started cross-stitching before I started quilting. So I started cross-stitching, 30 years ago. I had a lot of embroidery floss. I no longer cross-stitch. I occasionally embroider, but I don't need a lot of it. However, I still have a lot of it in my stash, as you can see. Over the years, I've tried to organize it on these little cards. I've spent hours upon hours wrapping them, writing the numbers on them, all of that wonderful stuff, only to not maintain that system. I've even had friends that have taken this bucket and organized it for me, and I hope they're not watching because they're probably horrified right now. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because this system, even though it's a hot mess, works for me. I do not want to take the time to wrap these. I don't need to. I'm not looking for specific number colors, for a project because I don't cross stitch anymore. And if I need red embroidery floss, I dig through and find red embroidery floss or blue or green or whatever it may be. And I think this is important because even though society and other quilters and our friends and family may tell us that this is really unorganized, for me, it works. I know this container houses my embroidery floss. I know that it's all going to be put back where it belongs when I'm finished with it. And I don't really want to stress about wrapping it. Now that's me, that might not be you, but if it is you, please just forgive yourself. And if this system works like this does for me, I'm sticking with it. I'm not spending the time that I could be spending quilting or sewing or whatever, wrapping embroidery floss that I hardly ever use. We all need to really let go of some of these norms or some of the things that society asks us to do. And I think that's throughout life, not only in sewing. We really need to be true to ourselves and what works for us. And I know there's people out there that are going to be horrified by this pile, but I mean, they don't have to work in my space and they don't have to dig through anything for embroidery floss, and it's not really affecting them, right? The first thing is to gather it all in one place. Now, I have to say, even with my embroidery floss, I have it all together, and I'm really good at putting pieces back that need to go away because I can just dump it right into this container. But if I had some in drawers or anything like that, I would bring it all together. The same is true with our trim and our ribbon. Having it in one place is really important because you'll be able to get your hands on it when you need it. The next task is to if you choose to do so, sort and organize it and containerize it in some way. And there's many different ways to organize ribbon, embroidery floss, and trim. Just pick the way that works for you. I've seen it where people have wrapped it around clothespins and put it in a jar. I've seen where people have used tongue depressors or large popsicle sticks and wrapped it. I've seen where they put it in baggies. Whatever works for you, do that. But make sure it's maintainable, that you are able to put things away quickly and easily, and you also can get your hands on it when you need it. The next task, and it's sort of a fun task, at least if you look at it the right way, it's a fun task, is to let go of all those expectations people have for you. What works for you, and embrace that. Now, if you really want to make something fun with your embroidery floss, your ribbon, or your trim, absolutely do that. But I think the big takeaway is to make sure that you let go of those expectations that society, other quilters, and our family have for us with everything, but especially with sewing, because it's just sewing, and they're not in your space, and they're not working in your space, and they're not going to have to clean up your space or anything like that. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me for week 17 of this series. We're kind of coming not to the end, but I'm writing my outlines for the next few weeks, and it's a lot of fun. We kind of pivot to some other things. Oh, I'm just gonna let you wait and see what we have in store for next week. Anyway, have a great week. Enjoy your space, especially how it's coming together, and just make some time to sew this week. I'll see you soon.